we would hear children giggling toward the back of our apartment. Like child giggles.
I think that I hate that more than the blood. Greetings, Screechers. I'm Rachelle.
I'm Kalie.
And we are Paranoia Percentage. We're just two girls who are a little anxious about our world.
And if you like what you...
Okay. Take two.
I'm a professional.
Yeah.
And if you like what we do here, don't forget to hit that like button.
And subscribe to our channel. So we have a special guest today. This is our tech support, actually. He is part of the podcast crew. This is he goes by Ziro because he's also a Twitch streamer. So this is Ziro.
Hello. I'll put his link down below.
Mm-hmm, we will. He has a lot of interesting little ghost stories, and we talk about ghost stories pretty frequently on this channel. So we thought we'd get some of his stories.
That sounded so like cutesy. It's cute little ghost stories.
Oh,
like,
okay. Well,
he has scary, terrifying ghost stories.
So, well, I have a few different ghost stories. A lot of them took place during my time in the military. The first couple actually happened during my year deployment to South Korea. So during my time in South Korea, I was married to a woman who, at the time, we thought she was being followed by some malicious spirit who we thought was a poltergeist.
Yikes.
And I only throw poltergeist on it because there was a lot of objects within my dorm room that were moved around. There were, for instance, on many nights we'd go to bed and we'd have a fan running to help circulate the air, and if we'd wake up in the morning and the fan would be completely flipped the opposite direction and turned off. There was
terrifying.
There was actually one particular night where she was grabbed by her ankles and pulled out of the bed toward the foot of the bed, all the way until her knees were hanging off of the bed.
That's like some Paranormal Activity movie stuff there.
Yeah. It was actively terrifying. There were instances where I had a security clearance to get into some of the more secretive areas, and one of the things we're taught is if you see somebody who doesn't look like they belong, you're supposed to challenge them. Well, try challenging a ghost that looks like they belong to the Korean War, walking around the area.
So you actually saw this?
Yes.
Okay.
Like,
did you see it like with your mind's eye or like with your eyeballs?
eyeballs. Like, so South Osan Air Base is a small enough air base to where you can walk across the entire air base within 30 minutes. Walk. Nobody really has a car. They do have taxis on base that will haul you to and from that are relatively cheap, but for the most part, we all just walk to work every day.
Huh.
And on a lot of times, I worked in an underground bunker. So I would go when the sun was coming up. I would leave when the sun started going down. And a lot of times when we'd end up leaving, multiple people claimed, to include myself, seeing a Korean War era soldier walking around in equipment lost, just outside of the bunkers.
Wow, that's kind of creepy. So could you like see through him, or was he?
It looked like a person, and you'd go, yeah,
just totally regular person.
Yeah, it looked like a person. When we'd go to approach him, because he would like walk off and out of sight, and we'd go over, there's no one there. Every single time.
Yuck, don't like that.
There were multiple people who experienced a lot of really creepy things. There was one girl who had lots of things thrown around her room to the point where she, was burning sage. I'm pretty sure she talked to the chaplains on base and got an exorcist in her room and like cleansed it. It was that bad. After that, I ended up going to Albuquerque, New Mexico for max base. I ended up getting into another relationship because that one didn't work out. And in our time, we lived in a small studio apartment. You walked in the door, you pretty much had your bedroom, then your kitchen, and at the very back of the apartment, you had a small left turn in your bathroom. On the walls, you could physically see blood splatter painted over.
Oh.
Like you look at the corner of a wall and you could see droplets and like just like running down droplets
Don't like that.
that were clearly painted over.
Ooh, I'll get the
Okay, wait.
heebie-jeebies right now.
Okay, I'm just trying to picture this. Is it like, did it look like real, like a human, like person, blood in a spot? Was it all over the walls, like all of the
Like
walls?
spatter?
Or was it like,
It was
Like
on
spiritual-
for certain sections of the wall. It looked like somebody got hit with a blunt weapon and it splattered on the wall and then they just painted.
oh my god, they didn't even clean it first?
I don't know. It was a very the section of the city I lived in was called the War Zone, which is heavily cartel influenced.
Oh.
So that kind of explains some of it.
I wonder if it's one of those circumstances where like you hear about like ghost stories or whatever, somebody died in an area, no matter how much they clean, it comes back, and they clean again, it comes back.
It was
And,
just
like, it's
something
like a
we
supernatural
noticed.
thing.
That was just painted over and I just never messed with it. We lived on the back side of the building, so on the opposite side of our back wall where the bathroom was, there's absolutely nothing. That is the outside. We would hear children giggling in toward the back of our apartment. Like child giggles.
I hate that more than the blood.
There was a couple different instances.
Sorry.
You're good. There were other instances in the same exact apartment where I had a shot glass thrown at me. It was sitting up on top of my counter, and it literally was like somebody took it and just swept it across the room at me.
Like a cat?
Yeah, but with extreme force.
Like an angry cat.
Yeah. A werecat, sure.
A
Like that kind of
thing. Yeah.
like that kind of
We
strength.
should do an episode on werecats, actually. That'll be fun. Werecats and were-rabbits. All the other were animals that aren't wolves.
So did you say that you like watched it happen?
Oh yeah, no, I was getting up to get ready for work, and as I walked by, it hit me. The shot glass literally hit me.
Did it hurt?
Yeah, I got hit with a glass cup.
So if it hurt you, then there's no way it could have like, let's say that the house was a little uneven or something, and it slid off or something.
No.
It could not have been that.
I was
Hurt you.
about me, like relative distance for us. Like I was like 5 feet from the counter. It flew 5 feet across the room.
It's like when the picture frame off of the bathroom wall flew past me.
Yeah.
Like there's no explanation, like, it just, fell. No, it flew. Yeah.
There was other occasions where I had a guitar at the time, and it sat in the counter. There was nothing around the guitar. It was sitting in a guitar stand all by itself. And I'd get up in the morning, and all the strings would just all of a sudden pluck. Like it just,
Maybe he liked you when he was trying to serenade you, and that's all the energy he got.
Throwing shot glasses at me is not a good way to serenade me.
That's valid.
It could have been different ones. Okay, here's a scenario that I have. Yeah. Okay, so one was like, I really like this one, and like I'm gonna serenade him with a guitar and pluck it, and then the other one was like, that's my man.
We had instances where, like, it just, you ever feel like somebody's watching you, but the room's so small that there's no possible way there's anyone in it without you knowing?
Yep.
Lots of instances of that. Like I said, there was the child giggles, and we would hear,
over here shivering.
voices, things like that. Then we ended up moving to a different house, and that one wasn't so bad at first.
At first.
And she got out of the shower because she actually addressed me over this. She's like, "Hey, are you cheating on me?" What do you mean? Like I go to work, I come home, that's it. Like I'm a very simple, ritualistic person. Well, and she pulled me into the bathroom, and while it was all steamy and whatnot, and there was a small woman's handprint on the mirror.
See, like that one bit.
Mirrors and ghosts particularly freak me out because, like, there's that horror movie trope of, you look in the mirror and there's nothing, and then I don't know, it's like a medicine cabinet, you open it and you're looking, and then you close the door.
And it's right behind
and there's somebody's face right there. Yeah, that's always creeped me out more than anything. I hate mirrors.
Yeah, that's why I don't have a mirror in my bedroom, because, when the lights are out.
Yeah.
Nope.
we got into an argument about it and whatnot. And I told her, I was like, if that was there before you took the shower and the steam just accentuated it, you would have saw an oily handprint on the mirror, which there was not. There was none. And if there was, there would have been clear signs of smudging or anything else, and there was not.
That's so creepy.
Yeah, and at least in the hindsight, like once the steam goes away,
there was
you
nothing
would
there.
still see it.
In our guest bedroom, the closet door, you could hear it unlatch at night and open. Like you could, if the house was dead silent, you could hear the doorknob turn and the door open.
I would cry. I would not be able to handle that.
Nope. I can't deal with doors being open while I'm trying to sleep.
I put stuff like in front of different doors that I have either open or slightly open or anything, mostly because it's not going to move. I know that, but I'm so scared it's going to move that I make sure it doesn't.
We eventually had a friend of mine move into that room, and he complained about it a few different times, about the door, the closet door and whatnot.
Okay, so more than one person heard this.
When I moved in with my friend in Florida, we had a couple instances where he swears up and down that he locked the door. He locks the front door. He's very adamant about it, him making sure he locks the door. And he woke up one night and his front door was unlocked, and when he was in that half dreamy haze, his fire extinguisher was floating in the middle of his living room. In which he proceeded to immediately call me.
I would have called 911.
911, what's your emergency? Hi, my fire extinguisher is dancing by itself. Ma'am?
One night he was sleeping out on the couch before he ended up getting all the stuff moved in, and he woke up one night and he swears up and down that there was somebody standing over him, like a black shadowy figure.
Okay, so was this like a solid shadow person or like a human being?
Like a silhouette.
Ooh, don't like that.
No.
If I recall correctly, he claimed it was a black silhouette with like a dark amber, faint glowy eyes.
Ugh. Oh, that sounds demonic.
Yep.
That doesn't just sound like a ghost.
No. There was multiple instances in that house.
I have to watch cartoons.
There was multiple instances in that house where we'd hear people walking. This is the same house with the handprint.
Mm-hmm.
We'd hear people walking to the closet door. And there was 3 of us in the house at the time, and each one of us had different weird experiences.
See, I've never lived in a house that was haunted. You've clearly lived in multiple houses.
And I love it, actually. It's actually a great time, because it's a little spontaneous, I don't know what's going to happen today. Am I going to be horrifically murdered in my sleep, or am I just going to wake up to an unknown stranger?
See, I can't deal with that inconsistency in my life.
I don't know, spooky things like that are really cool until it happens to you, and then I just want
I used to actively
cry.
ghost hunt,
Yeah, me too.
and it was a great time.
Yeah, but it's different when it's not in your house.
That's
like where you sleep at night, where you undress.
I mean, I get enough kitty eyeballs staring at me while I undress. I don't really need ghost
that's
eyeballs.
unnerving enough.
Yeah. I don't think I could go ghost hunting. I don't think I can.
Oh, it's so fun.
I actually had a dream that we went ghost hunting for the podcast. We had somebody with us who no longer exists.
Nelson Mandela?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Nelson disappeared in the house, and we couldn't find her. And it was pretty freaky.
Is that why you messaged out of the blue, we're never going ghost hunting?
Actually, yes. Because I had that dream, and the next morning I was like, not happening.
Maybe it was Maybe it was a foresight that Nelson would disappear.
I think it was, because I do tend to have dreams that come true, and I think that's exactly what it was. My brain was trying to prepare me for that happening.
Oh,
That could be an episode or prolific.
That really could be, actually.
I've had quite a few of them, and I know other people who have had them too. My best friend from high school had a dream 2 weeks before 9/11. She was looking at a city skyline, and she saw these two very tall buildings, and then all of a sudden they were gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think we could definitely do a short episode on that.
I agree, for sure. Let's get back into this episode, though.
So, in my ghost hunting adventures, some of them took place in Florida, some of them took place in New Mexico. Some back home where I grew up.
You've lived in a lot of places.
I have.
You have too, though.
Back
Definitely.
home, we would go to this graveyard. And in the graveyard, there was a stone wall surrounding the graveyard. And you couldn't walk across the stone wall without physically feeling like somebody pushed you off. And I mean, like, it felt like somebody took all of their force to shove you off of this wall.
Love that.
I don't know if either of you know this or not, but the house that I grew up in was actually next to a cemetery. My mom loved the neighbors, so they were super quiet. Oh no! You're welcome.
Okay.
That's true, though.
Oh.
I really did live next to a cemetery the entirety of my childhood. And my mom really did make that joke a lot.
I mean, she's not wrong.
No.
We had the Children's Asylum in New Mexico.
An asylum just for children.
Yeah.
That's incredibly sad.
And incredibly terrifying when you went at night.
Oh, I'm sure.
Incredibly terrifying. Like,
It hurts my heart.
whispers, like, right behind you. You go to look over your shoulder or something, there's literally nothing there.
That's
Giggling and running.
That's freaky to me.
There was an instance where we watched teddy bears be, like, knocked over. Like, we brought teddy bears and stuff, like toys and stuff in. And
Yeah, like a trigger object.
yeah. And we would set a teddy bear in a room and it got knocked over, and like this building, I mean, yes, it was windy, but like these rooms were very stagnant and stale. You could smell the stale air in them because of the lack of airflow. So it was just like, all right, that's neat.
That's scary, especially like, I don't know, children are already a little bit unnerving. Sorry. But ghost children, that wigs me out. Like if they're whispering behind you, or I've heard stories of them wanting to like play and stuff, and they'll come up and tug on you and things like that. Like, ugh.
And we had a girl who had her hair pulled.
Oh gosh.
Like she had a ponytail and it felt like somebody wrenched her hair back.
That doesn't seem like a child to me though.
I didn't claim they were all children.
That reminds me of the Furby story. Did I ever tell you the Furby story?
Furbies were monsters.
Furbies are creepy. I was spending the night at my best friend from high school. I was spending the night at her house. We were in junior high, probably. It's dead at night. We're both asleep, and then I wake up to something talking, and I kind of listen. What the heck is that? Beep beep. He's heard the story before.
No, I just know Furbies.
Yeah, it was saying, "Play with me."
Cute.
Yeah. And as I wake Alexandra up, and I'm like, "What is that? What is going on?" And she's like, "God, it's alive."
That's a horrible reaction.
What's alive? Oh my God, what is it? So she gets up and she goes in, she opens her closet door and she goes into her closet. She starts throwing stuff out of her closet, trying to find this thing. She finally pulls out this mangled looking Furby. She goes, "We took the batteries out of you. Why are you still talking?"
You know, we burned one once and it screeched.
Oh my god!
Like it was screeching like it was alive. It was horrifying.
I don't like these.
Furbies were a horrible invention.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm pretty sure they were some kind of cultist ritual that interested
I would not be surprised. They were scary.
That's the next machination theory.
But I mean, that's pretty much all of the paranormal stuff I've encountered. I haven't encountered anything as of late, which is slightly
Not since you moved to this state.
unfortunate.
It's unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
I like paranormal stuff.
I like watching it on TV, reading about it in books, listening to it on podcasts. I don't want to experience it.
I love experiencing
I know
it.
that-
There's nothing like it.
You talked about at one point wanting to like stay in a haunted hotel
Yeah.
or something. I would absolutely not do that with you. No.
I'll go by myself.
Haunted hotels are fun.
Have you stayed in one?
Yes. Los Lunas Mansion.
I want to go so bad.
The rocking chair is terrifying. Like, so you walk in, and this used to be a very rich people's home, if I'm correct. It was a plantation home or something like that down in Newton, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And
Plantation is a slavery plantation?
I think so. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure on the backstory of it. Don't quote me.
Okay.
Either way, the last living person who owned the mansion was a little old lady. She ended up passing, so they turned the mansion into a restaurant. It's not a hotel, but it was a restaurant that you could go to, and at night they would lock it down. Well, at night, the rocking chair would start moving, and they had this rocking chair right next to the door. So when you came in, like, hey, this is the last living person's chair, you know, that or was their chair, this, that, and the other. And the rocking chair would just rock back and forth by itself, no one touching it at all. You would hear footsteps upstairs. Going and down to the wine cellar is probably one of the last places I'll ever go again. I would never go back into that wine cellar.
Did it just like feel icky?
It felt horrible. Like you instantly felt oppressed. Like there was no way. And like the noises down there were not the noises didn't belong to a wine cellar.
Yeah.
They like you know how like pipes can create like weird creepy sounds. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't even like that. It was like growls, and there was I faintly heard a chain at one point. I distinctly remember that because there was no chains down there at all that we saw. The entire time you felt like you were being watched, and like there was just a weight on you. Like you constantly just felt smaller and smaller.
So, okay, I'm a history nut. I've always been a history nut. When I was a kid, my parents and I went on this road trip, and we were just like going to different museums and different locations and stuff. And we went to what's known as the old slave house.
That sounds fun already.
Yeah, it's not open anymore. It closed shortly after we did this, actually. While we were in the main area looking, they had the rooms kind of set up like if you ever have been to Lincoln's home in Springfield, and they've got the rooms set up like in the old style furniture and stuff, but there's like what do they call those things? Like the ropes and the
boundaries.
They do that in a lot of like old.
Exactly.
The cordons.
So they got it set up like that.
homes.
Mhm, they got them set up like that. And as we're looking at all of those rooms and stuff, you could hear something happening upstairs. It sounded metallic, some sort of like,
Machinery or something.
no, it sounded more like chains. Sounded more like chains upstairs. And we're like, what is that? What is that? And they're like, oh no, there's nothing up there. There's nothing up there. We're like, can we go up there? No, well, we don't really let people up there. So we finally convinced them to let us go up there. We went up there, and that's where I guess they had at least part of the slave quarters, because there were still chains on the walls. Yep, and something was jingling them. Mm-hmm. And when we got up there, the feeling, like just this heavy, just whoosh down on you. Like I could barely breathe. It was just so oppressive. Like you couldn't even function. And I was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. And my mom's like, we need to leave now. So yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean by that feeling. I had completely forgotten about that until you were telling that. That's not one that I've shared on any of our episodes before, because I forgot that happened. I guess I blocked it out.
I love haunted other places, like haunted houses that I'm going to or whatever. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I was part of the Midwest Paranormal Researchers for a little while. Like, I enjoy that stuff. It was really, really fun, but I hate it when it's my own home.
You actually reminded me of a couple of other instances. When I worked down in Panama City, I worked overnight as a gas station attendant for a while.
See, that's creepy in and of itself.
This gas station,
I did that for about 6 weeks and I quit.
every single one of the workers, like I was a little weirded out when I first started working there, and I went to a couple of my bosses and I was like, hey, is this place haunted? Straight up, just threw it out there, and they're like, actually, yes. And I was like, cool, I now understand what's going on. You'd be back in the cooler and you would hear the front door open, but you wouldn't hear the bell. And then you'd hear footprints and you could look through the cooler to see into the store, and you wouldn't see anybody. You would hear the bathroom door open and close, all kinds of stuff, and you'd go out and you go up to the front of the store, there's no one there. There was one instance where our coffee counter and machines and all that, and like, you know, the tornadoes that they make, the gas station food, anybody who eats those is iron gut, by the way. So I'm sitting in you'd be making your coffee and you could look out the front of the window in gas station. And I kid you not, one day I'm sitting there making coffee, you know, getting ready for the early morning truckers, stuff like that. And I look up and there's a man in the window, like eyes massive, like as big as they could be, just staring at me. I literally like tossed everything, just like, oh, it was literally the split second of I saw it, I looked away and blinked and he was gone. And I brought this up to one of my coworkers, and she had a very similar instance to where she even called the police and like locked the doors to the store, called the police. They came and investigated, nothing.
Oh my god, I hate that.
Did you not say anything about who was haunting the store? Like,
Nope.
Did they know the story?
No, there
Or
was
they did and they're not saying anything.
there was an instance, I want to say in the 70s or 80s, if I'm recalling correctly, down the road, where a man went into a gas station at night, abducted the gas station attendant. This is going to get very grisly.
Content warning.
Trigger warning.
She was taken into the cemetery across the street, raped, and then beheaded. It was a couple miles down the road. That the face in the window freaked me out because he was so close that he was almost pressed up against the glass. Like, I even went outside to check to see if somebody was there. Not a soul.
I think I would have just stood there at the coffee counter and peed myself.
I think that would have happened the second I saw his face. I don't think there would have been a...
The thought process.
That's instantaneous reaction. Look up, pee.
The worst part about it was his bulging eyes. Like to the point where they almost felt like they were popping out of the skull.
I don't like this.
That's quite the note to end on. Dang.
All right. Well, you know, Rachelle and I, of course, are going to keep doing different paranormal episodes.
Yeah, we're not going to stop.
This one, we wanted to have a guest on here to tell his stories. I don't know whether you join me or not. I probably will want to go stay somewhere haunted and film for you guys.
Let me know when you make it home safe.
Okay. Who knows? I'm not some like high tech ghost hunters, or not ghost hunters.
I've never seen any of them except ghost facers. No one will get that but supernatural fans.
I don't know what this is.
Don't worry, I don't either.
Okay. I'm Kalie.
I'm Rachelle.
And this is Ziro.
And we are Paranoia Percentage.
You can find us on Twitter at Paranoia Percent, Tumblr as Pdubs Podcast, and Facebook and Instagram as Paranoia Percentage.